It's Matt Boggs, and today we're going to talk about 5 hidden ways to kill your relationship with communication. Now, I am absolutely passionate about today's topic because unless we're taught these 5 things, these 5 ways of communicating that become toxic in a relationship, it can absolutely put a divide between you and the person that you love. And whether you're just starting out dating somebody or whether you're in a marriage, these 5 concepts will absolutely serve you. You may know my story of touring the United States, interviewing America's greatest marriages, in asking them questions of what makes love last with my best friend. His name is Jason Miller, and we were 2 bachelors looking for what makes love last. And we asked all of these couples, hundreds of couples who had been married over 40 years, what is your secret ingredient for making love last? And over and over and over again, they said the same thing: respect. And I was so disappointed with that answer. I was like, oh, respect is so boring. Like, there's such a boring answer. I want something new and cutting edge, and like I want something sexy. You know, I was a bachelor wanting some like grade A cutting edge advice. And the funny thing is, I totally missed it. I totally missed what they were talking about and what respect looks like. And when I got into a long-term relationship and then I got married, it dawned on me, yes, indeed, these couples knew what they were talking about and were brilliant, because respect becomes the foundation upon which everything else is built. And one of the ways that you demonstrate respect the most is in how you communicate with each other. And so I'm going to share with you these 5 ways that are hidden that kill relationships through communication. And the reason that they're hidden for most people is because this is not something that we're taught. Once I share these things with you, they're going to totally make sense. And so I want you to take a look at your own communication, whether it's with coworkers or family or friends, or even the person that you're romantic with, and say, do I do any of these things? This work really comes out of the early 70s when the counseling movement exploded. And they identified the rules for fair fighting. Okay, there are actually rules for how to fight fair. So I'm going to give you these 5 rules of fair fighting that if you practice these, they're actually toxic in your relationship. All right, so the first rule of fair fighting is no name calling. Right? Name calling is degrading. Name calling is the #1 way to disrespect someone, saying, you know, you're so selfish. You're such a jerk. You're so this, you're so that. And it gets very, and I'm sure you know and have experienced, it gets really, it can get really bad. No name calling, that's completely off limits. The second rule for fair fighting that you want to avoid is no labeling. Now, what is labeling? Labeling is where you put a name call on a behavior or an action, right? So you might say, well, you might hear someone say, you selfishly showed up late last night, or you rudely didn't call me back, right? When you put a label on the behavior or the action that they're engaged in, that is judgment. And when people feel judged, the instinct from human beings is that we want to be defensive. And that's where you get the boxing gloves out, and that leads right to a fight. Number 3 is no bringing up the past. You know, it's very tempting as human beings to do what's called stacking the bad, which is building your case for you being right and your feelings being validated. And so what will happen is we'll want to go back and bring up all the past events that were like this event to really validate our feelings and solidify our position. You know, for example, let's say that your man forgot to go by the grocery store and pick something up, and you needed that thing for dinner. And he gets home and he's like, hey, babe, what's going on? And you're like, hey, did you grab the thing? And he's like, oh my God, I forgot to grab it. And that just fires you up. And you say, you know what? Last week when I asked you to get that thing, you didn't get it. And the week before that, you forgot that other thing when I asked you to get it. You know what? You don't love me. You're not listening to me. And it just snowballs into something completely different than the thing you're talking about at hand. Stay focused on the thing that you're talking about at hand. Right? And that will help you move through whatever conflict you're in the moment. So no bringing up the past. This brings me to number 4. Avoid the words always and never. Do not say those words, because those words are emotional-based words. You're always forgetting things. You never remember the things that I want you to remember. You're always putting me below your sporting events or your other things, right? Always and never create good communication, right? It puts people defensive, and the point is that they're also not true. And the problem is with men is we're so literal that we will think of the 1 or 2 times when we actually did that thing. We'll say, you know what, last month, I don't always forget taking out the trash. Last month I took out the trash once, right? We'll think though the 1 or 2 times when we actually did it, and we'll start arguing about that point rather than the core point of what the argument is about, rather than the threads of truth of how we can connect. All right, so number 4 is don't bring up the words always and never. Stick to the point. And last but not least, number 5 is no hitting below the belt. You know your partner better than anyone else. Your partner knows you better than anyone else. You know his fears. You know his sensitive points. You know the thing that really gets to him. And it might be that he doesn't want to be like his dad because his dad wasn't a good father and his dad wasn't a good husband. And so no hitting below the belt. No saying things like, you know what, you're just like your dad. Blah, 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 blah. Because that kind of stuff lasts. That kind of stuff is toxic. These 5 things, when you start labeling, you start name calling, you bring up the past and stack the bad, you start using the words always and never, and you hit below the belt, that is cancer for the connection. That's cancer for communication. Instead, look for ways to be respectful. Deal with the thing at hand that you want to see shifted and changed. Be vulnerable, be open. And here's one tool that you can use that can make a world of difference. Ask for do-overs. Ask for do-overs. You're human. Your man is human, right? If you guys start getting into this argument and then you notice that you use the words always and never, you notice that you labeled and you're in the heat of the moment and you're fired up, we are not logical or rational when we are flooded with adrenaline and flooded with emotion. We say things that we might not mean. It's okay to stop yourself in the moment, take a deep breath and say, you know what? Can I have a do-over? I really got off to the wrong foot with this conversation. I was in a moment when I was stressed out one day, and my wife comes in and is like, hey honey, I just got a phone call and my family's having a big barbecue and we're gonna drive an hour and a half and go to this thing. And I was right in the middle of a project that I was behind on. And so my immediate response was, all right, well, how long do we have to be there? And this and that. And I could see the look on her face because she had just spent like the week before with my family. And I could see the look of hurt on her face that like it was the last thing that I wanted to do and it was torturous for me. And I'm asking already, how long do I have to stay? And I saw the look on her face and I said, you know what? Can I have a do-over right now? I really didn't mean to start the conversation that way. I'm just in the middle of this project. Can I have a do-over? And she said, yeah, you can have a do-over because we put this in play in our relationship. And I took a deep breath and I said, you know what? That's great. I love connecting with your family. And tell me the plan. How long would you love to be there for? What would be an amazing experience for you? And she gave me the vision that she would love. And I said, okay, well, I've got this project due. Can you support me? And maybe tomorrow we can create some space so that I can finish this project. And she said, sure. And we went and had an amazing time. So do-overs can be your best friend. No one expects you to be perfect or your spouse to be perfect. So use that tool of saying, hey, can I have a do-over? So again, no labeling, no name calling, no bringing up the past, no always and never, no hitting below the belt. I actually just shared these 5 things with a close friend of mine. And he was saying, man, I've never been taught this. I didn't even know these things were out of bounds. My wife didn't know these things were out of bounds. And I'm reflecting on my conversation last night. And yeah, we pretty much hit every single one of these. We were arguing with each other, name calling and saying, you're such a jerk. You always do this. You did this 3 times last week. You know what? You're just like your dad. And he was like, we've got to stop this. I talked to him a few days later and he was like, you know what, man? Our conversations are completely different. I can't thank you enough for these tools. So my encouragement to you is memorize these 5 things that are off limits, right? Avoid them in your communication. If you stumble into them, ask for a do-over. And when you do, you'll notice your communication and your connection going to an entirely new level. So I hope this serves you. If you want additional support and resources to take your relationships to the next level or to manifest your man, click the link below this video in the description and that will give you some great resources. If you're not subscribed to this channel, make sure you click that subscribe button so you can get the latest and greatest videos, and share this video. Post it on your social media. Put a comment below. I want to hear what it is that you have to say, answer any questions that you have, and send this video to people that you know who could really benefit from it. Thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon.